MSW Media.
Hello, and welcome to the second season of the Martin Sheen podcast. With yours truly, Martin Sheen, of course, and I'm delighted to be back hosting this podcast pilgrimage where the destination is still the journey itself. Along the way, I plan to share stories and personal memories of some of the many people, places, and events that have helped to shape my lifelong, happy, and continuing struggle as an artist and a man to unite the will of the spirit with the work of the flesh. I also hope to explore poetry as a powerful form of expression and communication by proxy, as it were, and how poetry is such a vital and necessary component of our spirituality and our public discourse. And from time to time, I'll invite friends, fellow actors, poets, scholars, and family members to join our pilgrimage and discuss what inspires their artistic journey. And so, friends, let us begin. He would have liked you. I've often said that I have no conscious memory of ever not being an actor, and while this is true, it does require some explanation. Like most normal children, I lived a good portion of my childhood in my imagination, which was fed in large part by the many movies of the 1940s that I absorbed nearly every Saturday afternoon at our neighborhood theater, the Sigma. There, for just 20 cents, nearly 3 hours of uninterrupted fantasy would include a black and white double feature, several cartoons in color, the cowboy serials of Roy Rogers or Gene Autry, and the 10-minute newsreel of world and national events in black and white. Of course, I began to identify with many of the actors I saw on screen in much the same way, I suppose, that a child might imagine themselves as a fireman, policeman, or some other heroic figure. But gradually it dawned on me that I didn't have to imagine because I was one with the actors. That is to say, I was, in fact, one of them. And the mystery of that remarkable revelation possessed me with great joy and gave me a certain possession of myself. All this occurred when I was only 6 years old and just entering the first grade at Holy Trinity School in Dayton, Ohio. Of course, I could not explain this wondrous mystery of transformation to anyone in my family or any friends at school or anyone, period, because I did not fully understand it myself. Yet I knew instinctively that I was bound to accept the full force of the mystery, or I would never be happy and I would never live an honest life. Thus, a seed was planted, and I nourished its growth. I was 12 years old in the 7th grade when I appeared on stage for the very first time in a play celebrating the 150th anniversary of Ohio's statehood called The Sound of the Axe in the Forest. I played a leading role, and the excitement and joy of that first theatrical adventure, along with a moderate level of stage fright, of course, still lives fondly in my memory. 2 years later, I was a freshman at Chaminade, an all-boys Catholic high school, where I joined the drama club and landed the role of the court stenographer in the Caine Mutiny court-martial. I had all of 3 lines, but I was thrilled because freshmen were hardly ever given any speaking roles. Later that year, I was invited to join the Blackfriars Theater Society in Dayton and offered a leading role in Arsenic and Old Lace, which I gladly accepted. I was the only juvenile in the company, and from then on, I alternated in plays at Chaminade as well as the Blackfriars throughout my 4 years of high school. Growing up, my favorite actors were James Cagney, Spencer Tracy, Humphrey Bogart, and Edward G. Robinson, in roughly that order. But in 1954, I placed Marlon Brando at the top of that list. Then in my sophomore year, I saw a film at the Sigma with a handsome young actor who would completely change my whole concept of acting literally overnight. It was October 1955. The film was East of Eden, and the actor was James Dean in an unforgettable screen debut. Clearly, he was a unique and major talent, and from the moment he appeared on screen, I was riveted and completely disarmed. I had never seen anyone like James Dean. No one had, and it was unlikely we would ever see his like again. In what appeared effortless and completely natural, his performance turned screen acting on its head. It seemed he was not acting at all, but that he had transcended acting into his own emotional and deeply moving personal behavior. He was raw and sensitive, with an engaging sense of humor that made him easy to watch and eager to see again. And all these superlatives were confirmed 1,000-fold with the subsequent release of his last two films, Rebel Without a Cause and Giant, before his tragic death in a horrible car crash on September 30th, 1955, at the age of 24. To say I was smitten as a youngster by James Dean's aura is an understatement, but why should I have been any different? The appeal of his special genius crossed gender and age for generations and still resonates today when he is newly discovered. Dean's influence continued into my adult life as I began my career in New York, and each time I appeared on camera, I was reminded of just how unbelievably talented he really was. He made it all look so easy and simple, where I found it difficult and uncomfortable. In fact, it took me many roles and nearly 15 years before I finally learned to relax and act natural on camera, with my performance in Terrence Malick's first film, Badlands, released in 1974. Oddly enough, my character Kit in that film was fixated on James Dean and was delighted when anyone made the comparison, and frankly, so was I. Over the years, whenever I worked with anyone who had worked with Dean or knew him personally, I would pester them with questions about my idol, and such was the case with Sal Mineo, who co-starred with Dean in Rebel Without a Cause and appeared in Giant as well. I met Sal when we were cast together for a TV pilot with David Jensen called Harry-O at Warner Brothers in 1973. And while we worked together, I took the liberty to ask him questions about Dean to the point of annoyance. But Sal was patient and good-natured and answered all my inquiries, and it was gratifying to learn about my idol from such a close friend of his. The day he finished filming, Sal very graciously came to my trailer to say goodbye, as I still had another day of work. We expressed our admiration for each other and confirmed how much we enjoyed working together. Then I apologized for asking him so many questions about James Dean, but he just laughed it off and said he was happy to share what he could remember and turned to leave. Then suddenly he turned back with a smile and casually said, "You know, he would have liked you." Then he left. I wouldn't admit it at the time, but now I don't mind revealing that I was so deeply moved with just the thought that James Dean would have liked me that I broke into tears. I never saw him again, but Sal brought me to tears a second time when I heard the horrible news of his brutal murder in Los Angeles in 1976. May heaven rest him. Born January 10, 1937, in the Bronx, New York, he died February 12, 1976, in Hollywood, California. Sal Mineo was 39 years old. We're going to take a little break here, but I assure you there's much more to come. Stay tuned. Welcome back. I'm so glad you stayed. Now hear this from the open mic. So East of Eden had been out for a little while, and it had played, where you had to go downtown as $1.50 or $1.25 for the first run. So we had to wait till it came to our theater. It was just down the 6 or 8 blocks away from our house. So, small block. You walk to it, It was a 10-minute walk to the theater. And so, but we never went on school night. So this guy in my class said, "Hey, have you seen this new actor?" He said, "You're an actor. You should like this guy." And so I said, "Really? Who's that?" He said, "I don't know his name, but there's this film, East of Eden, and you should see it, man." Well, it was playing its last night, but it was a theater. It was a school night. And we very rarely ever went on a school night unless there was a holiday the next day. And so I risked it, and it was 20 cents, and I went. And it was a double feature. I can't tell you what the other film was because I sat through it again to see. I saw East of Eden twice, and without the other stuff. And I could not leave the theater, literally. I sat there, And it all went through. I said, well, this changes everything. Does anyone know about this guy? I mean, do they know how big this is? And I sat there and I thought, oh my God, I'm giving up acting. Who the hell wants to act after you see that? You know, that's how strong it was.
Yeah.
So it took me a while to get over it. God. And there you go. So it's a true story.
And raised the bar, and you said,
"Oh
okay."
my God, yeah." But the coincidence that I played one of the best roles I ever played, and the first big role I got, and I wouldn't say important, but it was Terrence Malick's first film, Badlands, was I played a character who loved James Dean and was kind of coy about it, but he acted like James Dean, and he got thrilled when somebody said he looked just like James Dean. A little girl said that. Did you ever see Badlands?
Oh my God!
Get over here, please.
Okay.
Yeah. If you don't see it again, I'm going to shoot the dog. That's how important it is.
Oh God, you better.
I never see. Isn't that awful?
Bruce,
Say,
where did you go?
dog.
Where did you go? No.
I'm going to see Badlands.
He's leaving.
He swore to shoot the dog if I didn't see Badlands. Okay. Michael Parks. He was very influential. He was when I used to come out from New York to do shows out here during the season, on my own, I worked with him, and I was very impressed with him. And I realized,
What'd you work with him on?
The first thing I did was a thing for Universal on this anthology series called Arrest and Trial, and Chuck Connors was a star. I was one of his buddies, and we were in this meanie group, and we were at the grave of his father in the story, and the caretaker of the grave comes along and said, "What are you juveniles doing here?" That kind of thing. "You're messing up the turf. You can't do that." And Michael beats him almost to death, and so it was that. And it was that crazy. And then we stayed friends, and he kind of fell off the radar, and I asked him to do a role in Pretty Boy Floyd. And he was in that with my brother Joe, remember? Mm-hmm. And he was the other brother. There were three brothers. He was the other brother. And then he did a series called Then Came Bronson, where he was a motorcycler going across country. Mm-hmm. And I did the pilot. I gave him the motorcycle and the pilot. Yeah, that's how it started. I committed suicide on the bridge in San Francisco, and I gave him the motorcycle. He couldn't stop me from offing myself. I jumped off the thing. Yeah, so we were friends all those years. And then later, and he had a big hit. He recorded he used to sing country and western, and he recorded the theme for Then Came Bronson. Going down that long, lonesome highway, looking for something and a friend. Ain't nobody to come in my way, and I've got no one to see again. And something like that. It was very simple. It was a huge hit on country and western. And it was a theme. But he married a lady that we stayed friends with for a while, and she had a couple of children. They had one child together, but one of her children was killed by a car up in Ojai. They lived in Ojai, and they just never recovered. And they split up, and she tried to stay friends, and I remember talking to her one day. She came to the house here the day before we had to leave again. Janet and I left for the Philippines to start phase 3 of Apocalypse. I never saw her again. No. So I don't know what happened to her. He died, of course, I know. Yeah. He had a career. He was a very interesting actor, but he had that thing that he thought Dean...
How did he teach you how to relax on camera? I mean,
it was amazing because he had that thing that sometimes if you get a part and you're not comfortable in your own skin, you think, how am I going to play this? So you imagine someone that you admire playing it. Mm-hmm. I used to use George Scott a lot. I used to use Dylan music. I used to use actors that I admired,
Uh-huh.
And then I would see them playing it, and I would say, "Oh, I see it." So I'd be talking like George, what is this crap? And I'd talk, and then I'd become me. I'd overtake George, or I'd overtake Dean or somebody. So it became mine, but it took me a while to learn that. Michael Parks, he was just, you never quite knew what he was going to do, and I heard that was one of Dean's qualities, It was like he never did the same thing twice or the same way twice. And that's what Sal told me about him. It was like he was so available. A fly could land on him, and he'd deal with the fly. And it would be he'd make it part of the script or part of the scene. What was going on? He just was not. He was not. He was not. He was not sealed in a way to one way of doing it. He was so pliable, and he had such a range and a deep depth of emotion and he had a lot of anger and angst and a lot of joy and humor. He was so damn lonely. In
Dean
all
or
of his
Parks?
Dean.
Oh, Dean.
And you could see Dean in all of his movies. I mean, he followed the script, but in every movie, he's trying to build a family. If you watch him in East of Eden, he tried to create the family. And in Rebel Without a Cause, and what's it? He was an orphan in Giant. He was always trying to make a family, and he was always flawed.
I never saw it that way before, but you're right.
Yeah.
That rings true in all three of those films.
Yeah, he was trying to build a family. Yeah, he lost his mother when he was very young. He was about 9, I think, and he moved in with Hortense and what's his name, his aunt and uncle in Indiana. In Fairmont, Indiana. Yes, it wasn't far from where I was born and raised. I went over there several times, Andy Pohl and I once drove across country on the 25th anniversary of his death and placed a plaque in the auditorium where he first performed. Yeah.
Andy from high school, from your high school,
Andy
Chaminade,
right?
right?
Yeah, yeah. We got stopped. It was my old red Cadillac. We were driving across country in it. I picked him up in Vegas. He worked in Vegas. And we drove across country and got stopped in Texas by this young highway patrolman with a big hat, swagger and all that. He didn't have any sense of humor at all. He saw the California license plates and this candy red Cadillac convertible with two guys on a mission.
Where did that Cadillac come from?
Clyde Ware.
Clyde Ware gave it to you.
He didn't. I did 3 movies. He couldn't pay me, so he gave me his car. Autumn Movement by Carl Sandburg. I cried over beautiful things, knowing no beautiful thing lasts. The field of cornflower yellow is a scarf at the neck of the copper sunburned woman, the mother of the year, the taker of seeds. The northwest wind comes, and the yellow is torn full of holes. New beautiful things come in the first spit of snow on the northwest wind. And the old things go. Not one lasts. Carl August Sandburg was an American poet, biographer, journalist, and editor. He won 3 Pulitzer Prizes, 2 for his poetry and 1 for his definitive biography of Abraham Lincoln. He was born in Galesburg, Illinois on January 6, 1878. He died July 22, 1967. Carl Sandburg was 89 years old. I invite you to delve further into the works of the poets I shared with you. And I hope you seek out writers and poets whose work speaks to your hearts and minds with the power to inspire your life. If you've enjoyed what you've heard here, please subscribe to my podcast, The Martin Sheen Podcast, with your host, yours truly, Martin Sheen, of course, wherever you find your podcasts. Yeah, I have to say that. You can find a complete list of the poets and titles of their poems that I've chosen at our website, themartinsheenpodcast.com. I want to thank the people who make this podcast possible, our producer and research assistant, Renee Estevez, who assures me that the internet is a real thing and a safe place, if not used off-label, and our sound engineer and editor, Bruce Greenspan, the man behind these rich and seamless recordings. And to his dog, Gracie, our studio mascot, who snores in perfect pentameter. And so, friends, we part with the prayer from Tagore. We are called to lift up this nation and all its people to that place where the heart is without fear, and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depths of truth and tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sands of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, dear Father. Let our country awake. Amen.
The Martin Sheen Podcast, all rights reserved. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form without prior written consent of the author and TE Productions. The story He Would Have Liked You by Ramon Gerard Estevez, a.k.a. Martin Sheen, is included here by granted copyright permission.